Hello?
Hello. Hello. Welcome
Hi.
to Creative Chronicles. We have Debbie Pratt, who we will be celebrating today. She is an artist, and my name is Biba Sheik, and this program is produced by Mediterranean Fire that is unearthing some gems of Detroit and discovering what's making it happen art-wise. Debbie, I appreciate so much that you're joining me today. It's going to be such a pleasure to get to know you and to initiate a great conversation. How are you doing?
I am doing good. Just having a little trouble getting on. Sorry I can't be, on the thing, but I'm here on the phone. So
You
good evening, everybody.
Right, and remember, this show is not about what is seen; it's really about what's being said.
Right,
So
right.
that will enhance the meaning. Um,
Yes.
yes. So Debbie also has a show on WJZZ. It is called
Get down and dirty talking art.
"Get
It's
Down
me
and Dirty
included.
Talking Art." Yes, and
And
tell me how.
why? Yeah.
Yes,
We're
and
on a Wednesday night
Wednesday night at what
at
time,
8
Debbie?
o'clock.
8 p.m.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
All right, and tell me how it's been for you having your live stream, and what are the highlights that of your whole experience with this very
Uh,
successful show
it's
you have.
it's been absolutely amazing. We have met some wonderful artists. We have interviewed just it's been almost a year we're going to be celebrating, and it has been just a fantastic experience. We learn so much about the artists, and they learn about us, and our audience gets to learn, and it's been a fantastic experience.
Hmm.
It has been just quite amazing.
And I'm sure the public is curious. What was the highlight of this year? The very highest moment of your show?
It's the highest moment. That's a tough one. Just being there,
Really?
being with the artists,
Hmm.
finding out the why art. Art is just not in, like in paintings or everything. Art is in every single thing that that is about us, and that's what we're trying to educate the public about learning why art.
Hmm.
It's about every part, every aspect of life,
Okay. Uh-huh. And
and that's kind of been our highlight, I would say.
hmm and you as an artist, you you started delving into the historical architecture of Detroit, and
Yes.
you search for certain ceramic decorative elements of architecture, and then you reproduce it in a very organic way that also maintains its antique qualities. Could you talk to us about that this decorative
Sure.
art?
Yeah, I kind of everything I do is all related on Detroit. I love Detroit. I'm very lucky to live in the city. I have always wanted to live here, and
Uh,
about 20 some years ago, I was in Chicago, walking through Chicago, and I noticed the architecture, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And I just said, "When the time is right, it'll come to me." And excuse me, and with my history of what I've done, I started out like 35 years ago doing like little villages, and then I grew into lighthouses, and then one day I got bored,
mm-hmm.
and then I started doing the architecture, and it just kind of grew from there. And my son went to school, Savannah School of Art and Design,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was down there, I started noticing the unique ironwork and the architecture in that city.
I can't hear you
And
very well, Debbie. Can you
let me see,
before it was good. That's good. Yep.
is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, then I started in Savannah, Georgia, noticing the amazing architecture that was there. And that just sort of started my whole lust for architecture, actually I call it a bas relief or an impression.
Mm-hmm.
And our very, very first impression was done in Savannah at this, the movie was called The Midnight of the Garden of Good and Evil, and the house was there, and we went up to the fence. We did it in the middle of the night, and that just started the whole quest.
What did you do in the middle of the night?
We took an impression on the fence. We pulled up. I used clay, and I took the clay and I impressed it against the fence. I had my husband with me, and I says, I've never done this. And I said, keep your foot on the pedal and keep the door open, keep it in drive. I up and impressed it, got in the car, and went back to the hotel. We drove all the way from Savannah to Detroit back home, and that was my very first piece of architecture.
Oh my God. And how did you, like, I'm trying to imagine you, like, can you imagine Debbie with, like, this wet piece of clay that she's just taken an impression of? Well, you planned it out. You probably planned it out pretty well, right? Like you weren't like just carrying around like a wet slab of clay that was like
no. We brought the clay with us, a rolling pin. And one of the things that we learned that for a release with clay against something, you either use baby powder or you use Vaseline. Well, we had Vaseline with us. We spread the Vaseline on the clay. We did the impression. I never wiped the Vaseline off the fence. Well, the next day we went back, and all the cottonwood was blooming through Savannah down there, and we walked by, and the top of that fence was packed full of cottonwood. It was just stuck on that one part where I did the impression. And so I looked at my husband and I said, my, oh my, I wonder whatever all happened here on this old fence. Look at all that cottonwood. We laughed so hard. As then we let the clay sit in the back of the car, and that is what I call my molds. And I make my own molds, and my molds are made out of a ceramic piece, and where I take my clay and I push it back into the clay, and that gives me, the clay is a negative, and then my piece, when it's done, is a positive.
Mm-hmm. I see. So now you
do this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So now you kind of explore the city and its historical buildings, and you go and make impressions of certain. What do you make impressions of exactly? Like logos?
Let me see. My very first impression in Detroit was the manhole cover. That is now where the new arena is, the Little Caesars Arena. We looked for a manhole cover that had more detail to it, because some of them are so worn down from the driving across them and stuff like that. And so we went over there, and I had my husband there with me, and I was rolling my clay out. And nobody has ever asked us anything what we're doing. But that was, because I did little things here and there. And a guy came up to me, and he's looking at me, and he looks at me, and he says, what are you doing? And I'm going, what are you asking me? What am I doing? What are you, why are you asking me? And so I looked at him with the straightest face, and I told him, now I wasn't doing anything on the manhole yet. I was rubbing the manhole off. I was cleaning the manhole because there was a lot of dirt on it, and I didn't want to capture all the dirt in my mold. So I went, and I'm wiping the manhole cover off, after I rolled my clay, and I was getting ready to impress it. And I told him that I was hired by Kwame Kilpatrick to clean each and every manhole cover off in the city, because at that time, Kwame was at the end, and he was hiring these people, and I just thought, I might as well just be the manhole cover. The man actually believed me until I burst out laughing, and it was like, when you're selling art, they're buying a little bit of my history. And when you tell the story of what's behind this piece, it makes it just more unique. And the customers, when they take it home, they look at that piece and they think of the story that I told them and how I got this piece. And it just kind of makes it a little more, like, just kind of fun kind of a thing. Yeah. So that was my very, very, very first piece that I do to the city. And I've grown from there.
And what I don't know, I saw on your website. What is your website? I was there. It's Debbie LaPratt,
It's Debbie LaPratt Art.
Debbie
But
LaPratt
I'm not.
Art
Yeah,
dot com.
The Facebook is more active than the website. I kind of have been kind of
Okay,
sluggish on
okay.
the website.
All right. Uh-huh. So when I first heard that you started by constructing those little, what do they call, like Charles Dickens houses, like those
Yes,
little
I started
villages.
that. Yes, that was my. Yes,
So I
yes.
looked it up. I looked up a Charles Dickens village or house village.
The Department 56.
What?
They were the Department 56 villages
Oh,
that
okay.
everybody was buying at the time.
I see. Yep, and I mean, I must admit they do resemble very much the architecture of Detroit. Some of the
Yes,
houses
yeah.
downtown,
It was
and
just very much fun when I started it. We started that, now you're talking 35 years ago. I was doing the little villages, but what I did is I personalized them according to the family's needs. If you had a family uh, and you wanted to, let's say you got a little house and your son's name was Johnny, I put Johnny. And then for his address, I put how old he was. And maybe Johnny
oh
liked
wow.
baseball cards, Johnny's baseball shop. And it just kind of grew. And that was part of the, like the architecture that
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely loved. And it just
Uh-huh.
kind of carried me on.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was very detailed. They had lights in the windows, like you're looking in and you'll see the lights and they all lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I went into more of the lighthouses because Michigan has the most lighthouses in the world, which a lot of
Really?
people do not know on all our shores.
Oh my God.
And
So what
yes,
are these lighthouses active?
a lot of our lighthouses are active. I can't tell you, I don't know the numbers, but I think
Mm-hmm.
we have 200, and I'm not totally sure on the numbers, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
225 lighthouses throughout the Great Lakes.
Uh-huh. And
We have the most
what part of the
lighthouses in the world.
lighthouse do you get an impression of?
I didn't do impressions. This is like 20 years ago. I was actually um, representing the lighthouses, and it's all about the history. It's all about
Mm-hmm.
the
Like it's almost like
the.
storytelling, isn't it?
It is like storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
It is like a storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of fun doing lighthouses and just teaching people about the different lighthouses that Michigan
Mm-hmm.
offered. We had the most lighthouses on our Great Lakes. People don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided I had enough of the lighthouses, and then that's when I started doing my whole other thing is doing my villages. I mean, doing the architecture. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
where it was going to go, and I had a friend who was an artist, a very close friend, and I was taking things from, let's say, Louisville, Kentucky. I took things from Indianapolis. I took things from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes and she looks at me and she goes, "What do you want to be known for in your art?"
Mm-hmm.
And it took me almost 6 months to really realize I want to be known for Detroit's historic architecture
Oh right.
and
Uh-huh.
the stories that are all about these famous buildings and the
Okay.
history and our rich history of Detroit,
So why don't
because we are a
you?
very unique city.
Yes, since you have gone into that, why don't you pick a couple of stories about Detroit that you really love, about related either to the building or a story behind, or a building situated within a story. What can you share with us?
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to really think. Okay, with my manhole cover,
Mm-hmm.
and when I can relate, you guys can relate to this. It's the jail Hudson's building. Okay,
Hudson's. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go down when the building was being destroyed. I didn't make it down there, type of thing, and I knew there were places that were actually selling artifacts from the Hudson's building. So I went to one of these places and I purchased a brick
Mm-hmm.
from the jail Hudson's building. I mean, this is it's just a brick, nothing special, just an old brick from Hudson's.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided I wanted to represent the Hudson's building. So I went and I did a ceramic tile of the Hudson's building. I counted Oh, I wish I could show you people, but I'll have to
Yes.
send, they can look at, I'll put some on my Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And I counted exactly how many windows were at, in the building. I mean, it is
Wow.
actual, I was very detailed in making sure everything was very accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this brick, and I was going to break the brick up. And every time I made a Hudson's building, I was going to put the brick inside the clay. And then I said, but wait a minute, then the brick is going to be gone, and I will have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, I take the brick, and in each piece of my artwork, I texturize that piece of that clay is actually texturized with the historical brick that was once on the amazing old jail Hudson site.
Mm-hmm.
And so each piece of Detroit has a piece of the history from the jail Hudson's building. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I made the little ceramic tile that represents Hudson's, and I could not get any kind of impressions from the signs because the building was already gone when I started doing this. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually have redesigned the actual, like the black sign that's got the jail Hudson's logo on it, that's got the
Mm-hmm.
little oval. I got the three historical signs that are that the plaques that were in the original building. I
Mm-hmm.
found the photographs and I reproduced them in
Mm-hmm.
my clay.
Do they sell
And
your
one of
stuff at the Detroit shop?
no, not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. I would love to have it there.
Mm-hmm.
I am talking, possibly maybe with the Detroit Historical Society,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe carrying some of my Hudsons. And one of my dreams would be, with the new jail Hudson's building, I would love them to have a, a, a commemorative plaque of each of the. There's three different plaques. I would love for it to be in the building. I'm hoping to maybe reach out to somebody
What are
and
you
see
talking about?
if they
You
would
said
be
there's
interested.
a new jail Hudson's building.
Yeah, it's right downtown where the old jail Hudson's building is being built right now.
Okay.
It's they're getting the elevators in right now.
And what are they going
And
to do with
I
this
got a great
building?
I got a great story about that. I
Mm-hmm.
was at an art show, and a gentleman comes up to me, and we were talking about Hudson's. He was the architect that was working on the site, and
Mm-hmm.
they hadn't started building it yet, and nobody knew, because the architecture firms that were here in the city have not built a skyscraper in about 35, 40 years.
Oh, wow.
So they had designed the building and everything, but little did they know that there was a river that ran underneath our city.
Oh, my God.
And the
There's uh-huh,
river, so
uh-huh.
they had to go and they had to scratch all the plans.
Mm-hmm.
They had to scratch all the plans, and they had to go to a firm in New York to redo the entire structure, because the way the river flew, it would have affected the way the building was. They didn't know what to do, so they had to hire an architecture firm
Mm-hmm.
in New York to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was just so neat. Nobody knew that there was a river underneath the city.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, every time I go downtown, I just kind of smile and go,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
wow, just the memories. Living here in the Metro Detroit, we used to come to Hudson's. It was
Mm-hmm.
a very memorable thing. The windows and just shopping there as a kid, and then when I
Mm-hmm.
worked, we went downtown, during our lunch hours and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and shopped at Hudson's. I mean, everybody who was around, then just the memorable thing is just
Mm-hmm.
so, it's just so cool.
Mm-hmm. And
So that's one of my stories.
yes, it's I'm sure it's many layered for sure. So I was wondering I know you work with Colibri, the artist, who was on our show a couple of times, and
Yes.
she seems to be a very almost like a spiritual person, and her art is connected to spirituality. Are you also kind of in this kind of spiritual? Do you have this like spiritual tendency, or or are you, or how would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as that. I guess you would say that I had the beautiful opportunity to go into the oldest church in the city of Detroit, which was St. Anne's.
Mm-hmm.
It is the second old. It's the oldest city. It's the oldest church in the city of Detroit. The second oldest church in the country. Uh,
Oh.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's down in Florida. That is the oldest church in the city of Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the United States, and St. Anne's is the second oldest in the country.
That's
So
amazing.
I was
Mm-hmm.
able to spend many. I spent like 8 hours into
And
that
do
church.
you know
It
how
was
many,
just
how old it is?
uh, I don't have that. I would have to look that up. But
Okay.
it is the second old. It is the oldest church in the city.
Okay.
It was
In the
down.
States.
This is the second location. It is down by the bridge. It's on St. Anne Street, and it's now a basilica. And when you go into that church, you feel like you're in Rome. You feel like you're
Mm-hmm.
in one of the amazing churches
Mm-hmm.
that that you see like over in Rome or
Mm-hmm.
something like
Mm-hmm.
that. It is quite. And Detroit has, I think, in our metropolitan area, we have the most condensed amount of churches, I think, in the country.
And have you
There's
done,
just not just Catholic, but all kinds of different,
uh-huh,
uh, religions and stuff like that.
yes. And have you done some tiles based on St. Anne's Church?
Yes, I do. I have quite a bit. I
Mm-hmm.
spent 8 hours in that church.
Mm-hmm.
It was very hard to pick and choose what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some really amazing pieces.
Mm-hmm.
It was very. I grew up Catholic, so it was a very much of an
Okay.
honor to be
Mm-hmm.
able to go into this Catholic church
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of feel the energy and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I've done a couple other churches. I'm kind of all over the place. My very first impression was a church, and I don't know the name of it. It's near Orchestra Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And when I worked, we used to go there for Easter Sunday on Good Friday. We would go spend our 3 hours in church on Easter on
Mm-hmm.
Good Friday. We would go to church and then go back to work and stuff like that. So that
Wow.
had a very historical,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of a very memorable piece.
Absolutely.
I just kind of look at them and I can find architecture on door handles. I
Mm-hmm.
can find them anywhere. There's just so much.
You are watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and other top social media channels. Like, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching WJZZ. If you just joined us, our guest today is the artist Debbie Pratt, who is working on decorative art and is very inspired by historical elements of architecture in Detroit. And we're talking right now about St. Anne's Church and her also layers of spirituality that are linked to her artwork. And I'm your host, Biba Chic. So let me see, Debbie. Now, your artworks, I want the people to be able to understand exactly what they are. So they all have kind of like a metallic or earthy tone to them from what I've seen, and they're highly glazed, and you keep them in the oven baking for about, am I wrong? Was it 24 hours or something like
About a
that?
good 24 hours, yeah, from start to finish.
And I've seen
And you have to,
some spherical ones, some round ones, some larger ones. I've seen even some smaller ones that are maybe like
yeah,
door knockers or these decorative things on buildings, all different shapes, and they can also be customized to give as gifts. She can write someone's name on it or any
yeah,
kind of fine tune it to to something that's personally related to the person that's being gifted, and you
yeah,
can always know it's a La Pratt piece of art because her signature is also her thumbprint that is
You got
on
it. Yes, it is.
Yes.
How that started is a really interesting story. I was
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot of art shows, and I
Mm-hmm.
was doing art shows out of the state of Michigan. I was in, I don't remember, it was South Carolina or something, and I was there, and an artist got talking, because when you're at an art show, you become really good friends with your neighbors and
Mm-hmm.
stuff because your work is so unique.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, how do you sign your work? And I says, I just sign it with, I says with my my signature. And he says, why don't you use a fingerprint? This would be just so absolutely cool. So him and I got talking,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I started with the fingerprint. He says it makes it unique, but also when you turn my work around, you will find my fingerprints all on the back. I call it my DNA is all over
Uh-huh.
my things
Uh-huh.
because they're
Uh-huh.
all on the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I'm doing is I'm rolling my clay out, and then I'm putting it back in my mold, and I'm hand pressing it all back in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So not like a lot of my friends who are potters, they use the wheel and they're using their hands, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't have like your fingerprints in it. But my fingerprints are all over everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of fun.
Wonderful. And talk to me about how your work is situated in the art world, in the art market. Um, how tell me about what's been happening with that, how it develops, in case, for example, there are any younger artists out there, and if you have anything that you can tell them, or to inform us of what you're dealing with in that realm.
I I just tell artists do what you love and love what you do. I have a grandson who is 8 years old, and he is an artist, and it's really amazing. He likes to draw and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as my kids grew up, my kids were all involved in helping me doing the art shows. I do
Oh,
the other
how
end. A
did
lot
they
of
help
artists go
you?
to galleries. Huh?
How did they
I'm
how
sorry.
did how did they get involved?
The kids or the adults. I just start creating and just keep creating. Don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be scared to think out of the box. Just
Mm-hmm.
kind of you can feel the art. Like if I always tell people, don't be scared. Just do what you love and love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't if you want to be a sculptor, just sculpt. There's no right and wrong in art. It's
Mm-hmm.
all in the love, in what you're teaching the you're teaching the people about your art,
Mm-hmm.
type
Mm-hmm.
of thing. It's every artist is very different and very unique, and
Mm-hmm.
I always say it's a story about your art, which makes your art so unique.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause everybody's got a story. Like when you hear the artists that are painters and they talk about the emotions that they used when they were painting it or the feeling that they used, it's all about the story. That's what I try to
Mm-hmm.
uh, create when I'm talking to my customers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the emotion. I had a customer call me up and they got engaged uh, by the Kern clock. So they bought a friend of theirs bought them the Kern clock, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just so cool because it was a piece that meant a lot to them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I do a lot of. I do a lot with. It's like I invoking that emotion,
Mm-hmm.
with that piece. I had a customer who, oh God, what is it? It's a church, St. Aloysius. One of her friends got married there, and
Mm-hmm.
she wanted something. And so what we made her is what you call a wall pocket. And the wall pocket is a piece. It's like a vase, and it hangs on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put the couple's last name, and I put the date of their wedding. And their wedding was like in 1989 or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So that was like a piece of the church that they got married at with their
Mm-hmm.
wedding date on it. So
Amazing.
it was a very emotional piece. It was a very special piece
Mm-hmm.
that they can always look at and they can always remember the day of their wedding.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's how I create my art.
Mm-hmm. And do you teach art as well?
I am going to start teaching. I would like to. I have a couple. I'm going to start like having like classes and just teaching people how to make. I couldn't, like actually coming over and doing like I'll teach you how to make a wall pocket. I could teach you how to do this. I could. There's a lot I could teach. It's called hand building. It's a little different than our like sculpting. Mine is all it's all taking pieces of clay and developing and making something very unique out of it. You can create a bowl with flowers on it, or you can make a wall pocket or something. I cannot do faces. I cannot reproduce a face. I can actually look at a building and probably recreate a building. With just I see in dimension. I cannot paint at all. I'm a terrible painter. But yeah, I can look at something and I can see the dimension of the piece. In fact, right now I do have a piece hanging at the Westland Art Gallery for Martin Luther King and Black History Month, and it is a whole cityscape where the buildings are actually like raised up, and then I have all the names of like different historical places that were through the city, like Black Bottom, for instance. God, I can't think of all the names. Hastings Street, things that represent Detroit. That's what everything is based on. Is everything that represents Detroit and the history.
All right. Okay. Now I'm gonna branch out and ask you just some I don't know what you would call them. Now I want to talk to you now about, I don't know, we'll see. But so my question to you is, it's like a two-part question. I want to know what was like the most amazing moment or experience or day of your life? And then the other one is the opposite. What was just the worst thing that ever happened to you? And you can start with either one that you want.
Oh, wow. Like, what was the best thing of my life? Is it not in my artwork or just in my entire life?
Your entire life.
Having my kids.
Okay.
Having my kids. That was the best. Having my kids and being married. It was amazing.
How nice.
I had a great life. And I would say the worst thing is losing my husband and losing a child. That was the most horrific thing in the world.
That is, I'm beyond words. I wouldn't know how that feels. You must be an extremely strong woman. Do you think that these type of horrifying things that you had to experience made you stronger? How would you?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. My quest now is when my friends have lost their mates after, let's say, a month and everything has calmed down. My quest is to call that person, text that person, be a part of that person, and just check on them and say, how you doing today? That was the thing that was the hardest thing for me. And that was the thing that I do for them is every day do that type of thing. It's like it just makes me feel good because I know how I felt. So that was the hardest thing, I gotta say.
Yes.
So yeah. But what it make me stronger, make me very aware of people's feelings and emotions, and it's every day you got to just look at life as be very grateful that you're here. You know, and I've been blessed with a lot of things. I've had a lot of things happen, that are weird and stuff like that. But you just got to pick yourself up and just keep on going.
And do you think that this this type of price that you paid also affected your art or changed the quality of your art in any way?
Not really. I had a very great support system. My kids were amazing, and my husband was amazing. Anything I needed, he was there for my art, and I just kind of carry on. I don't let it stop me. No is not in my vocabulary.
Right. So now I'm thinking also, you mentioned your spiritual side, and it could also be because of your spirituality and the Catholic religion, that you have this strength. Also, I was listening to a speaker who was talking about spirituality, and it wasn't like it, it was all it was any type of spirituality, is was what kept people from actually being depressed, or etc. So being a spiritual person, or having faith in that sense, um, you know gives light, while she said that, and she is a psychologist, and she did do her study in a very psychologist type
Right.
academic way of finding proofs and all this. So living without spirituality leads to much more depression than than the more spirituality you have, the less likely depression is. What is your true reaction to the words that I'm saying?
That's that's a tough thing. I think I don't know how to really say that. Depression is in many different factors. Sometimes it is because of genetics, or because of something inside your brain just causes you to be depressed, and other people are happy. That's a very tough thing. I've been around that type of things a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I don't know how to answer that. I really
Okay.
don't.
And so,
It's
since we're getting on this
that's a
level of
rough one.
conversation, I just want to ask you why you've been around that type of thing a lot. What makes you be around that type of thing a lot?
Like what type of thing? You mean the what type of thing? I'm
I
sorry.
think we're talking about like different types of depression and people.
I have a lot of family members that are had a lot of things like that, and a
Mm-hmm.
couple friends.
Okay.
A lot of it's sometimes it's not just depression. Sometimes it's just mental illness that
Mm-hmm.
they have to deal with on their everyday basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you
Mm-hmm.
know, so
And
it's
do you
just
think
you don't
art?
know.
Do you think art?
I choose. I tell people I choose to be happy. I choose happiness,
Mm-hmm. And
and
do you think art
it's
would
called
help them?
mel. Yeah, but some people can't choose happiness. Some people have a very hard time choosing. I look at there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Some people just can't do that,
Maybe
and I
that's.
try to help.
I mean, according to some. Yeah. Uh, I mean that could be their. Maybe they want that, and for some reason, that's what they want to live, and somehow it is part of their spiritual process, because
Right,
we don't really
right, right.
know, what comes after death and where we came from before, or if if there's anything like that or not. So,
Yeah,
hmm the let's see.
yeah,
I'm also curious to know about your last name. Seems it has like a French
yes,
quality to it. So,
yeah.
are you immigrants? Were your parents,
No,
grandparents,
I
great
am.
grandparents?
That is my married name.
Okay.
I am 100% Polish.
Okay. Wonderful.
But I do not have a Polish name. My maiden name was Miller. We're
Mhm.
not right sure where but
Mhm.
my brother has done the ancestry,
Mhm.
and I am 100% Polish.
Mhm. And have you been
So
there?
my husband was the French,
Okay.
from the French ancestry,
Mhm.
and some American Indian, some Cherokee
Mhm.
from the upper part of Canada, where
Mhm.
they're doing some family research and stuff like that right
Yes.
now about it.
You are watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. join us by subscribing, share, and like, comment. And thank you so much for watching WJZZ Cool TV. We are conversing with Debbie Pratt, the artist, and thank you for joining us. And I'm your host, Biba Chic, on Creative Chronicles. Debbie, when is your next exhibition?
Oh, my next exhibition, I will be over at Westland at the Westland Art Gallery for Black History Month, and I am not sure, just kind of putting things together. It's kind of early yet in the year to know where and what I'm doing.
And how has COVID affected your exhibition life?
Well, the one year there was no shows. Last year there were the art shows kind of came because they were outdoor art shows, so we were able to actually, put things, at the art shows when you're outdoors. Inside it's been a little tough, kind of thing. There's always something, some way that you can always exhibit your work and things like that. And with COVID, it's just kind of different. There is going to be a big exhibition. I think I'm going. You have to actually apply to be in a lot of the shows. They have to look at your work and see if your quality of work is what they're looking for. And I know I just got a call for. It's called Cranes Detroit, and they're looking for artists. So I'm going to actually be developing a piece, and then I'm going to be making a piece. And I don't know where the gallery is. It's in Dearborn. And I'm doing where I'm working with another artist, and we're both working together. Like we're going to be doing. Oh God, I can't even think. It's like we're going to be doing something about the factories in Detroit, representing work. He's going to be painting a piece, and then we're collaborating. That was the word that I was looking for. We're collaborating together. So he's going to be painting like the inside of the factory. And I'm going to collaborate in my clay. We're both going to do pieces. It'll be kind of like pieces, and I'm going to be doing the Ford Rouge plant. I found it was a badge that the workers use, and it was very distinctive. And anybody who drives over 75 could really relate to the factories in Detroit and things like that. And I decided to do the Ford. That'll be probably one of my next pieces that I'll be working on. And I also just completed Hitsville, which is the Motown Museum that's on Grand Boulevard over here. I just finished it. Actually got the name on the front of it, and I'm always thinking a different way to do things so people can kind of recognize it and stuff like that.
What did you do with the Hitsville?
I actually made the building. I replicated the building. I handmade the building. So it's called Hitsville. And then I put it on a I wish I could show you, but we just can't. I'll have to put things. I could maybe send it to you, and we could put it maybe on the website, on Facebook there. And it's actually the actual Hitsville is the actual. I replicated the building, and then I put it on a canvas board, and the canvas board has photographs that represent, Motown. So anything that's Motown. And that's how I did my Hudson's piece.
And how long did it take you to do Hitsville?
A couple days. I had to build it, and then once you build it, you actually make that original, and then you let that dry, and you fire it, and then I made a mold from the original. And that's what I do with a lot of the pieces. I'll take some, and I'll make molds from the pieces that I made,
and so that I could be able to buy that. Will people be able to buy that piece?
Yes, they will.
And how much? Do you know how much it would cost?
Probably about $229. I'm thinking.
Wow,
So,
that sounds good. I think they
yeah,
should up their
yeah.
prices,
That's
by the
going to
way.
be the first one. I don't know. I'm just
Uh-huh.
roughly, it might be more. It just depends on what kind of work I have to put involved. It might start at maybe 229, maybe 249, 269. It'll be
Mhm.
under $300. I
Okay.
try to keep my work affordable,
Mhm.
but still valuable,
Yes.
as time goes on.
Mhm. Yes.
So, but it's like I just love Detroit and just
Mhm.
the stories about everything,
Yes. And
you
if
know. And
now
so,
if you could realize a certain dream, this doesn't have to deal directly with your artwork. In your lifetime, what would it be?
oh wow, that's a hard one.
I
My
know.
dream.
I'm trying to.
Oh God, go traveling again. Go to Europe
Uh huh.
and go
Mhm.
look at the architecture and just
Mhm.
go travel through Europe again. I would
Mhm.
like to.
Mhm.
I'd like to
Okay.
go travel again.
Mhm.
I think that would be my dream right now.
Mhm. And where would
It
you go
would
in
be.
Europe?
Oh, I'd go anywhere. I want to go back to Rome. I want to go back to Paris and just hit all through Italy
Mhm.
and see a lot of there. Spain. I don't know, just anywhere. I want to. I like to travel. I'll go
Mhm.
anywhere, anywhere, anywhere.
Okay. Mhm.
I'd like to go to Alaska, see
Mhm.
the glaciers.
Mhm.
That I think that would be kind of my dream.
Mhm. Okay.
I would, you know. But that's yeah, that was kind of a wow. When
Mhm.
I go there, now this sounds really funny. When I went to Rome
Mhm.
and I went to Paris, I looked at all the architecture. But one of the things that I absolutely really liked was the manhole covers that I've seen
Oh
throughout
my
the country.
God. That's
Very,
amazing.
very interesting. There are
Uh-huh.
some very, very historic. I mean, I took
I've
pictures
never
of
looked at a
manhole covers.
manhole cover like at its detail, but I'm definitely gonna do so if I'm walking and happen to
Oh,
see
you'll
one.
see.
Definitely.
Yes, it's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Different cities, different cities have different manhole covers. Like for instance, I was born and raised in Dearborn.
Mhm.
It's called the Helm of Henry Ford. Livonia has a tree on it. Ann Arbor, I can't remember, but there's some very very distinct manhole covers.
Mhm.
And on Instagram, there is this gentleman that I follow. He has got manhole covers from all over the world.
Mhm.
It's so cool because I'm always looking at them and sharing and just like, oh my God,
Mhm.
that is so cool. That is so cool. I
Mhm.
always tell people look up, look down, and look around because people have that tunnel vision where they just look.
Mhm.
They're not looking around. I am constantly,
Mhm.
constantly looking. I go into people's old homes and I look at all the fine detail and the
Okay.
workmanship and the artistry
Mhm.
that was developed, from this type of thing. I went into the Fisher Building, and
Oh
I
wow.
have a dentist office, and I went up to the dentist office, and I'm looking at the door handles, going,
Uh-huh.
"Oh my God, look at
Yes.
these!" It's just these
Uh-huh.
little fine details that people don't. I want people just to be aware of what's around them. There's so much beauty. There's so much beauty in
Mhm.
just the simplest little thing.
Yes. Let me see. I'm hearing a knock and I am wondering what it's about, but I don't know. Isn't that funny? Ha 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 ha. Okay, now.
So now you're going to be out running around and looking at all the different stuff. You're going to be out looking at all the manholes and
I
all
keep
the
thinking
little
about,
details on buildings.
yeah, I keep thinking about like some of the artists that I work with because I have this traveling exhibition with artists from different Mediterranean countries and Eastern, even more far east than Mediterranean, but a couple of them, like in Iraq, are working with
Ooh.
decorative art and from the details of the facades of the ancient architecture. And
Oh, there's got to be some amazing
yeah,
things out there.
I'll share some things. I'll share that artist with you. I think you would really like his work. And that is really, to in a place like Iraq where so much has been destroyed and it's such an ancient culture, you
Oh,
know.
yes.
Um, it's yeah, it's very meaningful. Um, we have
And losing that history is kind of sad.
Yeah, I think that was part of the purpose of destroying the place was to lose that power, that history.
Mm.
I've said it before. I mean, even they used to have even like seeds, like wheat seeds that were thousands of years old that you couldn't find anywhere else in the world. You know, that you make bread from,
Wow.
and they destroyed. It was all destroyed.
That's so sad.
Yeah, by
That's
our
just
country,
history
by
that,
the way.
yeah.
Yes. We have a few minutes left. Debbie, what can you share with us from the depths of your heart, depths of your being? Just, it doesn't even have to make sense in regards to what we were talking about. Just give us something to hold in our hearts and think about, and
Just,
really where's your wisdom? Give us your wisest words.
oh my gosh. I gotta think it's, boy, you really got me on that one. Just, just think every day, think of, just be happy, be grateful, be happy, be grateful for everything we have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every day, just wake up and just be grateful for, it could be the simplest little things in life. Just be happy for them and just be grateful and treat everybody like you want to be treated.
Wonderful.
I would say that's my wisdom.
Okay.